To see you all here. I want to go over, for those of you who haven't been to one or want to know what's going on today for the rules, and the procedure we'd like to follow is we're going to have me standing up here in this area and have people actually form a small line and go through a cycle of so everyone has at least one opportunity first, where maybe we'll have a couple people waiting in line, one person come right here across from me, so I'll hold the microphone like this. There's the person answering, and you'll have everyone in view of cameras, crowd, candidates. So that's my idea there. I'm looking for a 2 to 3 minute introduction from all the candidates, and then we're going to have concise questions that would be broader, ideally, from the crowd. So for example, if you have a longer story that might be personally pertinent, I'm advising that you have a one-on-one with each pertinent candidate about this topic and try to come up with a concise question that would address the actual issue. So for example, if it's something about your property and property rights, you could ask a property rights question that one or more candidates could address. Let me know what candidate or candidates you might want to answer, or the entire panel. And we'll be able to go through all the candidates and have them address those issues you wish to. So then the candidates, of course, because there's so many candidates in front of us, it's going to have to be concise answers as well. And of course, if more people are answering, and in my past experience, you'll see the first person to answer, which I'll try to rotate, they're going to tend to have a longer answer, and people might concur on some issues, and then we won't have to refrain the commonalities. We can just say, I agree with that, and not this, and then this is in addition to, for example. Is that fair enough? All right, so without further ado, I'm going to introduce candidates. So we have Kathleen Pellegrino is running for State Committeewoman. Oh, I'm sorry, we didn't do our intro. I'm so sorry, I did not mention. Yes, okay, so we didn't ask someone to do the pledge. So we have a flag up here at the window. I can lead the pledge, and I have an idea for the prayer improvisationally. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Yes, that would be great. I know what I was going to go to, but this will be even better. Change it up.
Luck of the draw, I put a prayer together thinking of politics and what we're going through today from Romans 12. Be devoted to one another in love. Honor one another above yourselves. If we can live these words, we can make this country great again, and we can take Charlotte County where it needs to go. Thank you, Lord.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Bothwell. So I'm going to go, for the first introductions, I'm going to go from left to right. So we have Kathleen Pellegrino for State Committeewoman. John Bothwell, yes? Thank you. So guys, everyone, I just want to make sure I've got to be more aware of this too, because I'm on camera. So this range right here is on camera, and then slightly back is off, just so you're aware. And Kat Pellegrino for State Committeewoman, John Bothwell, State Committeeman. So we have Greg Julian for City Council. Oh gosh, I need to know all the names. Miss Denton, I always call her, so I don't know your first name. Thank you. Janice Denton for City Council. Janine Polk for City Council, Dave Kalin for Supervisor Elections, Dave Kisselring for County Commission in District 5, and Hal Daniels for County Commission in District 3. So I'm going to go, starting with Kat, I'm going to work this way and have everyone do their introduction, and then we'll start with the questions, and I'll announce as soon as we get through the crowd. If you want to start forming a line right over here, we'll start taking questions. Thank you so much.
Hi, Kat Pellegrino. I am retired military. I want to serve the county like I serve my country. I stand for the people. I'm the people's voice. As State Committeewoman, I will be your voice to the state level. I am involved in a lot of legislation, and I want to get more people involved in legislation as well.
Good evening, John Bothwell, State Committee man. I'm a precinct committee chairman now. I've been in politics more in a support role for at least past 30 years. I won the Senatorial Medal of Freedom. I'm involved in this job. It doesn't pay because I care about Charlotte County and communicating your needs and your wants to our officials. The problem is we have little communication back to us what's going on, and they're not hearing what our wants and needs are. The Florida Republican Party needs to be accountable to us, and certainly we do on the county level. My job will be to communicate your needs to them and their concerns and their recommendations back to you.
Hi, I'm Julian, running for Punta Gorda City Council. I realize a lot of you can't vote for us, but hopefully you know people in Punta Gorda that will, and you can tell them about us. I'm a retired Army vet in combat, and I never had any intention to run for politics until I saw what was going on in our council and the poor decisions that they're making, and they turned their backs on the citizens when we asked them not to make the decisions they did. And so my wife and I discussed it, and I decided I have to do something.
My story is very similar. We really were kind of naive and comfortable, but then we learned what's not happening and what is happening in our town of Punta Gorda, and you see it lots of places where you're not being heard. Your voice is, you might even speak up, but they just ignore you and do the other thing, even the opposite thing, and that's what's been happening in Punta Gorda. And we want to stop that. We want to listen. We want to respond. And in every way that we possibly can, make our town better, but keep it quaint and small and beautiful. Because I think probably all of you appreciate that about that little town across the water. And so we're really trying to encourage proper, manageable, smart growth, not tall high-rises and high density.
They're suggesting if you hold it like an ice cream cone, it helps. Like this. Yeah, don't lick the microphone.
I think that's about it.
Good evening. Thank you all for coming out. I'm Dave Kisselring, running for Charlotte County Commission. I'm District 5, but you guys get to vote for, everybody gets to vote for the commissioners. Everybody gets to vote for Dave Kalin. The only ones you may not get to vote for are the Punta Gorda people, unless there's somebody here from Punta Gorda. But I've been speaking in front of the commissioners for at least 10 years now about waste and violating people's rights and things like that. And I've also been in some huge meetings just like Punta Gorda where hundreds of people have come out and they've been ignored. I've seen that. I believe in property rights not just for developers but for individuals, and even more so for individuals. Individual property rights. Okay, there's a lot of waste. I was just listening to a workshop, and just for the extra beautification projects they've been doing, $4.5 million extra just for mowing. Okay, they're going to sidewalk you out of your house for taxes. So we need to get in there. I come in with a different mindset. My mindset is to shrink government, not to grow it, or at least keep it where it is. I won't vote for any more millage rate increases, no budget increases. I won't vote for any more employees, at least for a while. I think we got plenty of them right now. I think they have plenty of money. I think we have plenty of parks. I was accused of wanting to take everybody's parks away, but I just don't want any more. We don't need more amenities. We need to, they talk about growing the tax base, but yet the individual taxes just keep going up anyway. When they collect all the money, then they just find new ways of spending it. It needs to stop. The spending needs to be decreased so the taxes can be decreased. That's my goal. And again, I'm running for county commission, and I thank you all for coming out.
Good evening. My name's Dave Kalin. Thank you all for coming out tonight. I know everybody's got busy schedules this time of year. I'm running for Charlotte County Supervisor of Elections. I know I've been told it's just a clerical job. It's not a clerical job. It's a very technical job. It's also a job where you've got to be a human being. You've got employees that are going to be working for you. Having been in the industry, whether it be Department of Defense, IT industry, and banking industry, as well as most recently retired from the airline last year, you've got to be a people person. You have got to be able to encourage your employees, uplift those employees, and make them want to come to work. And unfortunately, we've got a lot of the opposite going on right now. I'm somebody who's going to look at every aspect of our election systems. If you are not looking for that criminal, you're not going to find the criminal. If you're not looking for the missing money in your bank account, you're not going to find the missing money in your bank account. And I'm not saying that that's what's going on, but it's not being looked for. I work with a number of people across the state as well as around the country, and what we're finding through our election systems is very lackluster. So I am going to be not only your supervisor of elections, but a lobbyist to ensure that your vote counts and only legal, accurate votes count, and ensure that illegals are not going to vote in our elections. Unfortunately, Florida is a voluntary state for that. And so illegals have entered into our system. We're weeding those out. I'm going to be ever vigilant, watching, ensuring that your ballot is treated like an investment in your future. So if you're looking for somebody that's got the skills and the experience to be able to take on this task, I encourage every one of you to get out there in August. It's August 20th. Most of our county elections are decided in the primary. So it is absolutely imperative that we get those folks that are patriots, freedom lovers, or want the job done and done right, get out there in August and vote. If you have any questions, please feel free to contact me. My personal phone number is on that business card. I'll take your call. We can walk through it. Thank you.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Nice to hear the rain finally. My name's Janine Polk. I'm running for City Council, Punta Gorda. Most of you here probably won't be voting for me, but please do tell your friends about us. We need some serious change, not only at the county level, but the city level too. We've had, incident after incident where people have spoken to and, just gone on and on about let's make these decisions properly. And our city council seems to do the opposite of what the people are asking them to do. I was Debbie Lux's campaign manager. I never meant to get involved. I am a teacher first. I grew up in Charlotte County. I've been here for 50 years. I know my community very well because I taught children in my community. And my husband owns a commercial property appraising business, so he appraises commercial property all over Southwest Florida. And for the last 6 years, I've been working with him. We've also developed property in Charlotte County. So we know what development is. We know what it takes to develop property. We know that it's not easy. So development has to come. We want our taxes lowered, right? We've got to have commercial. And our city council has taken it upon themselves to change various pieces of property that were zoned industrial to residential. And that's when it starts costing the taxpayers money. So we need smart people in there. We need people who know what they're doing. We need people who will listen. And so we need a change. Get out and vote. Thank you.
Okay. Maybe not. Yeah. Hi, I'm Hal Daniels. I'm running for County Commissioner, District 3. I'm born and raised in Florida. Most of my work career was in Florida. I'm currently a senior financial analyst for Charlotte County, so I know where most of the bodies are buried in the budgets. I've touched almost every fund. I've touched almost every department, so I know where the inefficiencies are in the budgets. I know that our county will tout our projects. Those projects that they've approved and done throughout the last several years, but they're funded out of our bank accounts. I want to take that stuff that came out of our bank accounts and put it back. The other thing is term limits. Similar to like the national level, you have senators that have been in office for most of their work career, a lot of them. They build these alliances with special interests, and when they do that, they work for them. They don't work for the citizens, and it's the same with a county. My opponent lobbied against term limits. Why? Why would you want to do that? Special interests. I am going to impose term limits on myself. I'm going to serve 2 terms. I'm not going to have any special interests. I'm also going to be a full-time commissioner. I don't own another business, so I'm going to work my full-time job as a commissioner. I'm going to dig into every fund. I'm going to dig into all our zoning rules. I'm going to spend my entire time bringing Charlotte County back to the affordable place it used to be, especially when I came.
Thank you.
So, go ahead. So go to howdaniels.com. I won't bore you with the details of the specifics I want to do. My platform's there. I will have it when I'm elected. I will have a checklist of everything I'm going to do specifically, and I'm going to always check off as we accomplish those things. And if I don't check those things off, then I shouldn't be reelected. So, vote How Daniels, and thanks for being here tonight. I really appreciate it.
Thank you, candidates. If anyone would like to ask a question, how about at least a few people line up and we'll take the first one and have two in line or so. And then as you see people coming forward and speaking, so you don't have to stand so long, let's keep the line no more than a couple. And we'll get through everyone once before anyone comes back again. So we'll make sure we get everyone. I need everyone. I'm going to have you come up, sir. I'm going to reach the microphone. I'm keeping the microphone and reaching it across so we're on camera and they can see us, we can see us. Okay, so here you go, sir.
Okay, my name is Robert Weiler. I'm a resident of South Cove. I've been here for 7 years. I've been here for 7 years. All I see is this commissions approving more and more residential stuff with no infrastructure improvements whatsoever. What is anybody on this committee, if they get elected, going to do about this? I mean, in season, the traffic's horrible. But the way things are going, out of season, it's going to be horrible. That's my first question.
I'm going to have Hal take this first, and then I'll have Dave Kisselring, and then if the Punta Gorda Council would like to add on to that what they can do on their piece, and then if the committeeman and woman candidate would like to chime in, and Dave Kalin as well, we'll do that at the last part.
Great question. Thank you for that. So I think you have to balance infrastructure with the projects, and you have to prioritize. And I can give you a specific example, and I believe it's going to break ground pretty soon, the new sheriff's facility. Well, we're only about 60% built out in Charlotte County. We have a lot of lots. There's not enough people to fund those kind of things when we should be developing the infrastructure needed before we build all these homes and stuff. That's just the bottom line. It's about prioritizing. Did that answer okay, sir?
Is there any follow-up question you'd like to add?
I mean, prioritize is a great thing, and that's what should be done. And believe me, I've had it up to my eyeballs with people on this commission now. I've gone to a couple meetings, and the way they talk down to people, they wouldn't get my vote if they were the only ones running. Okay. The other thing, and living in South Cove, okay, 7 years ago, there may have been 100 houses going up in a year. Now there's hundreds of houses going up every month almost, it seems like, okay? Every time you put asphalt, concrete on what was ground to run off water, where's that water going to go? Is there plans anywhere that anybody's aware of to dredge out some of these existing canals and drainage ditches before we end up underwater?
Go ahead. I'm going to have you follow the rebuttal, Hal, and then Dave answer everything.
Yeah, all I wanted to say is I'm an accountant. I sit behind a desk, and the reason I decided to run was the same frustrations you've had.
Okay. Part of it depends on how you define infrastructure. We've got 67 parks. Do we need more park amenities, or do we need bigger, wider roads? Do we need more sidewalks going across exit ramps from 75, or do we need better roads? Do we need better, I don't want to say more sewers, but the sewers need to be repaired. There's a lot of disrepair in our sewers, which causes problems. That's infrastructure. There's infrastructure that's government, and there's infrastructure I don't believe is government. The signs after in. We've got to have regular road signs. You know, you've got to have the lights working, but mainly roads, that's what government's here to do. It's here to do the infrastructure that would benefit everybody. This goes to the general welfare principle of the Constitution. It's things that will benefit everybody rather than special interest things like events and things like that. They waste a lot of money, in other words, and that money could go toward more roads, which is really what's important with what you're talking about with the gridlock and everything.
You know, you look at 776, okay? Now you got a wide median there where you could probably put another lane in to eliminate or alleviate some of this traffic that we have. You know, but what's the people that are running this county doing now? Absolutely nothing from my standpoint. Okay, just approving more and more housing.
I'm going to have you follow up, and then I'm going to go to Janine. If you want to chime in, let me know after.
Okay. Also, I don't believe the government needs to necessarily right now encourage more residential growth. Certainly business, we do need business, but we can't discourage it. There are property rights. Doesn't seem to be many property rights for individuals, but there is for developers, of course. They have their property rights. However, it's zoned. I don't think we should change the zoning. Maybe I didn't agree that there should have been zoning in the first place, but it's there. It needs to stay, and they can't be changing the zoning all the time to encourage more growth. And something that's kind of unrelated, but you have the property tax increases. Renters pay property taxes. The higher the property taxes, the more renters wind up out of their homes. Well, the solution is to build more affordable housing, big apartment buildings, and give developers land like the Bachman tract. That needs to stop. Let's hear it more affordable. And let's stop wasting money and use it for what we're supposed to use for the proper role, under the proper role of government. And that would solve a lot of those problems.
Thank you. Janine, would you like to address that at all?
Yeah, I just wanted to say that, you know, when they rezone property, okay, let's take the industrial, you know, area that's really developing out by the airport, and they change that to residential when really industrial has been developing. And then they come in there and put 600, 700, 800 homes instead of industrial. That to me costs us more money. And people complain all the time in the city of Punta Gorda, we don't have enough water. Our water has gotten so bad in Punta Gorda that when people turn on their sprinkler system, they can't get water to come out of their faucets. And so it is a super big issue, and it needs to be fixed. I don't have any answers as to how it could be fixed, but certainly building more homes and changing commercial property to residential is not a good idea.
Janice, would you like to address this one?
Well, yeah, I believe it's related. We have big infrastructure issues in Punta Gorda. We also have big tax increases coming to government because our property values have increased 22% in the last few years since COVID, and everybody started coming here because it's a free state. And then it looks like it's about 18 or 19% just in the last year. And so what that means is the government is getting a whole lot more money, county and city, and they're not giving us any breaks. They're getting a huge raise. We're getting hosed.
Greg?
Yeah, we have very similar problems that the county does. Most of our council has gone off track with their budget priorities. They want to build a city Taj Mahal instead of fixing the infrastructure that they've both talked about. Our water meters are a disaster, and our water service is constantly breaking, water mains breaking, and boil orders in place many times. And it's time to get the train back on the track.
John?
The thing that I bring to the table is my job is to communicate your needs to the Republican Party and go to Tallahassee and kick some butts and let them know that we're not happy. Someone needs to carry the message. I plan to try and put together around 5,000 letter writers. And people have laughed at me, said, well, we send Texas, we do this, we do that. I'm an old school boy. When a bag of mail shows up, people pay attention. And so as I go to the quarterly meetings and I find out what's really going on behind the closed doors, I'm going to come back and hold quarterly meetings here locally. Every quarter, and I hope Kat joins me. And we're going to do a quarterly meeting, and you guys can come to an event like this, meet and greet, and we'll tell you what's really going on, name names, and this is who you have to get after. This business of us being a cow that they milk every election cycle has got to stop. They have to start feeding the cow. I've had it. I'm angry, which is why I'm running. But all I can do is carry the message to them what you want, and come back and tell you who's doing something and who's just blowing smoke.
Kat.
He's right. I've been doing this for 4.5 years, going up to the Tallahassee or Orlando, wherever they hold the quarterlies, as a guest. I'm not getting paid. I pay my own gas. I go there. I bring back information. We have to start holding their feet to the fire, okay? We have to work with the legislators. I'd like to take a bunch of people with me to Tallahassee and show them how it works so they can talk to these people and bring up to these people what's going on. You have multimillionaires sitting on your county. You've got real estate people on your county as commissioners. You have got your developers. You've got an engineer. So, you know, to me, that's a conflict of interest because everything gets rubber stamped, okay? And these builders from overseas are coming in and they're buying up land. They're buying up houses now. I've been doing my research. I go down rabbit holes. I've got so much information. It's insane what's going on. So that's happening. And then these builders, developers, are not paying their fair share for infrastructure. Bottom line. The other thing that happens is when you get bills and they go up, like term limits is a big one. I hate to bring this up, but I want to mention it. It passed. It went through every committee and got up to the calendar, guys. It was ready to be voted on. What happened? They pick and choose what they're going to vote on, and it got cut. Me personally, if they're going to have all these bills go through and they pass, then every single bill needs to be voted on. They need to stay there, do their job. We pay their salaries. That's the problem. We pay everyone's salaries. We're not beholden to them. They're beholden to us. We, the people, don't have a voice. We need a voice, and that's why I'm running.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everyone. I wanted to go to Dave Kalin first. If you have anything to add, sir?
I just want to say one thing. So it's not working now? Can you hear me okay? The on button. So I think it's also important, like we have this meeting during the political season. I think these meetings should take place throughout the year because things are changing quickly. We need to know when it's not a political season, what are your concerns as citizens? So I think that's very important. So we should continue to have these, even when it's not a political season.
Dave, do you want to add anything, sir?
Even though these kind of decisions for infrastructure are outside of what the position I'm seeking have, there are impacts that somebody sitting in my position can have. This morning, I signed a pledge to not partake in the Florida retirement system. We've got some supervisors of elections in the state taking well over $1 million as a retirement for serving as a public servant. So this morning, I committed myself to sign that pledge that I will not partake in the Florida retirement system should I be fortunate enough to be elected to this position, which will save Charlotte County taxpayers hundreds of thousands of dollars over an 8-year period, which I've also decided to term limit myself to 2 terms. So you'll look for another SOE in 8 years. Thank you.
Thank you. Everyone, thank you, sir. Everyone, when you come up here and you're next, ma'am. I don't remember that question.
Yeah.
Sir, did you ask about canals?
Yes, sir. Yeah. I said with all the housing that's being built in South Gulf Cove, okay, macadam, concrete, does not absorb water. That water's got to run someplace, and it's going to run into the existing canals and waterways And is there any plans? Any of these canals that were probably dug out in the 60s need to be dredged out for more places for the water to go to, so our flood insurance doesn't keep going astronomical. Because, you know, one thing to pay flood insurance, but it's another that have to deal with your house being flooded out.
I'm going to babysit that question, if you don't mind. I'm going to get her question in, and I'll follow up with Dave Kisselring and Hal on that one, if it's okay. Ma'am, please come up. And if you want to sit down after you ask your question, and you don't want to wait the whole time, if many people are addressing it, I fully understand.
Okay, I have one question and then I have one request for information. So the first question is, who decides on what gets developed, and what businesses are we going to look for besides storage containers? Okay? So what are the businesses you would like to see come to Charlotte County that would really generate some tax revenue?
All right. So I'm going to start on this side. I'm wondering, would you guys like to address this, Kat or John?
I'm only going to say one thing. We don't need any more car washes either.
Kat, do you have anything to say on this one?
We need to take and get with the people and ask the people what they want. They need to put a moratorium or slow down on the building. You have to build smarter. We don't need any more homes, in my opinion. We need small businesses, you know, mom and pops. You have to really work with the developers, because they come in and they say they're going to do this, and supposedly the commissioners just listen to them. They don't really tell us what's coming, according to Sayo, the one time I talked to him. So something has to be done, you're right. So fresh blood, we need to come together and decide what we're going to do as far as changing maybe land development codes, maybe changing some of the rules and regulations in this county. I mean, how long have they been around? Somebody needs to go through all that stuff. We need to make decisions. We need to better the county. We need to make it the people-friendly county. We need to go back to what we want and not what a bureaucrat wants. So we need to actually sit down and work with the people, in my opinion. How? I don't know, but we can sure try and find out and get something done, because we're tired of the old ways. We want something new. You're right.
Well, we have these industrial plots. We have these industrial plots, right? So who goes out to say and look to see what businesses we could bring in that would generate money?
I was told the businesses come to the county. That's what I was told. So, again, the business bring it to the county. The commissioners and the, I guess planning, and, that's another thing, planning. You've got people in planning that make a lot more decisions than these commissioners do. So that's another issue. So they're going to have to work with them, and they're going to have to come up with a game plan. You're right.
All right. I'm going to go to Mr. Kisselring and then Hal, and if you can address her issue and then follow up on the drainage issue, and then I'm going to go to Mr. Kalin if he wants to chime in and go through the city council candidates.
Well, this is where the free market comes in, okay? There needs to be less restrictions. They've chased people away. I know there was a boat building business. There was a guy wanting to do an underwater salvage business. He couldn't even store his equipment, couldn't cover his equipment. He spent about $100,000 and fled the city. But it's about making it more business friendly, and if possible, lower some taxes. And the market will take care of the car washes. They have to stop at some point because they'll stop making money. If they're still making money, there's going to be car washes until they make money, and you can't really stop it. But what we need to do is make it easier for other businesses to come in. That's the whole point. It's free market. It's less restrictions by the government, even on your property, your own property. There's so many restrictions. You have to get permits to, some people say something, I won't say it, but you have to get permission for everything. And that's not what government's here to do. We didn't form government so that we'd have to ask them permission to do everything we want to do. Okay, as long as we're not doing harm, we can't have a skunk farm in the middle of a residential area, right? Okay, I understand that, but there's so many ridiculous codes and things, and we need to get rid of that. And the same with business. And then the dredging, again, we need to stop wasting money on other frivolous things so that we have money for drainage. Drainage is important. Roads are important. These are the things we need to focus on because government's here to maintain. It's not here to schmooze businesses or give them special privileges to come in at all. We're not supposed to pick the winners and losers, okay? We do, but we're not supposed to pick the winners and losers. It should be free, a free market as long as they're not doing harm to anybody. And we need to cut restrictions and regulations as much as possible to get business in here.
Thank you. Hal.
Well, Dave kind of stole my thunder on this one. So ditto to everything he was saying. So we do have an economic development department. That's kind of the starting point of everything you were talking about. We do live in a free marketplace. So the market kind of determines what types of business. I think, like, as Dave said, we have to make it a very friendly environment for the small business, not the big business. And I ditto to everything he said.
What would you consider a big business? What would you consider a big business that you wouldn't want here?
It's a great question.
Dollar General, we don't need any more.
Walmart, a Walmart distribution center or an Amazon distribution center could bring a lot of jobs, so it's not necessarily a bad thing. But we need to focus on the small businesses because small business employ more people than large businesses. So is there too big of a business? It just depends. But the economic development should look at that, listen to what the people want. It depends where the business wants to go. It's got to be a fitting place for that business.
Thank you. Can we go to Janine now? Oh, I'm sorry, Dave Kalin and then Janine. Thank you.
Again, while this question's a little bit out of the wheelhouse of the job I'm seeking, I was a commissioner in the state of Pennsylvania, so very familiar with land development regulations, and our community had been gutted of our business due to a highway coming through, wiped out our entire business district. When you lose your business district, you learn real quick that bedrooms don't pay the bills. Bedrooms are a burden on your tax base. You need more fire, you need more police, you need more EMS, you need more water, more services. When you bring that business in, it's usually your locals working that business. It is your local community. It is those local workers. It's the people that live here. Keep your money local, pay local, work local, shop local. You're going to grow that community. And if you have that business that the other communities want, you're taking the money out of those other communities to grow your business in your community. So we've really got to look at how we do business here in the county. When you make it difficult for a large company to come in here or a small company to come in here and you overregulate it, you make it much easier for a developer to throw in 500 homes than it does to put in that Walmart distribution center. Many of you may not remember, but a number of years ago, Walmart wanted to be here in Charlotte County. They're about 100 yards on the other side of the county line in DeSoto. DeSoto County now reaps the benefit of that business that we are not getting the tax base on. So we really need to look at the way we handle that. Deregulating some of these things, allowing a little bit more here, promoting business can be a big business. We've got an airport area, all congruent with Interstate 75. Let's utilize it. Put it to work.
Thank you. Janine?
Well, there's a lot I have to say about that because it's kind of the field that we work in is commercial property appraising, because when developers go in for a loan to a bank, they don't get passed. They don't get the money if the property appraiser doesn't say, yeah, this is going to make money for you. So what we're seeing recently is, mom and pop shops are going by the wayside. Small retail places are going by the wayside since COVID. And it's very difficult to bring in people who are willing to, first of all, they've got to build it, right? They've got to get the loan to build it, the property, the commercial property. And then they have to get people in there to rent it. And in the city of Punta Gorda, rents are between $15 and $20 a square foot. Well, sorry, but that's not going to cover your loan payment. So it is very difficult to get commercial property in as much as we want it. But again, bringing in certain things like in our downtown area, We don't have, they want it to be walkable. We don't even have a grocery store in downtown Punta Gorda. I'm about 2 miles away. I'm not going to walk 2 miles to go to Publix. We need a grocery store. We used to have 4 or 5 in that area. Charlie took them. So, and we haven't had one developed there. Why? Well, there are a lot of different reasons why, but I won't go into that. But, you know, yeah, we've got to have more commercial, you know, development. And I will say car washes do not create jobs. Neither do storage units. They are not job-creating development, and I think it's a shame. I think it's a shame, so no, they don't.
Janice, would you like to add anything to this one? Would you like to add anything, Ms. Denton? Okay. Greg?
Yes, I'd just like to reemphasize Kat's point about transparency and listening to the people. That hasn't been happening in Punta Gorda for sure. We have a current council member that started doing that since she's been in, and she has town hall meetings, and people give their input, and then we're able to take that to the council meetings, and that's what we intend to do when we get in.
Thank you. Do you have any? Is there anything else you want to follow up say? I'm trying to get a pulse really quick, just so I can gauge this. Is there a person who's second in line right now? Okay. No, he's first. Yeah, first in line. Are you coming up, ma'am? You are, sir. Okay, great. Does anyone else want to go before we do a repeat question asker? All right, go ahead, ma'am.
I would like you to explain the whole commissioner thing, because I heard, like, I think I heard conflicting information up here. When we go to vote, do I only vote for my District 4 commissioner, or can I vote for others? Can you make that clear?
I'm going to have Dave Kalin take this one because he knows the rules for it.
So the way our county works is as a county election. We're not considering the city at this moment, but as a county election. You vote for every district within the county, no matter what district you live in. The same is true for the city. The city gets to vote for the county seats as well. However, the county does not get to vote for city seats. So you have a separate form of government for the city council. They are governed by their own internal districts within the city. So, and they have their own rules for elections, their own dates for elections. They're also a nonpartisan election, unlike most of the other seats other than school board throughout the county. So again, get out there and vote. If it's a county election, you get to vote for everyone, no matter what district you're in. And if you are not within city limits, you will not get to vote for Janine, Greg, or Janice. But if you have friends, spread the word that you were here and what you thought about them.
Thank you, sir. Come on up.
Can I just make a comment real quick before you start? There are 2 other people on this sheet at the bottom that are running for judge positions, 2 separate judge positions that you can vote for. So please take a look at that.
Okay, I'm Ron Wozniak. You talked about infrastructure needs and stuff like that. Back when the housing market was down, everyone cut their impact fees. Sarasota, Lee County raised theirs when things picked up. We've lost millions of dollars in impact fees. We have higher property tax rates in Sarasota and Lee County. You can check, you can look it up, I did. And lower impact fees. I want to know what you can do and what you will do to get impact fees at least equal to those counties, which may help balance growth and infrastructure needs.
Okay, so on this one, because it's county, I'm wondering, would the council people want to partake in this one? And the committee man and woman candidates? All right. Mr. Kalin, are you going to participate in this one? Okay. I'm trying to mix and match the order. Okay, let's go to Mr. Daniels, followed by Mr. Kisselring.
So property taxes, our property values have gone up and up, right, over the years. Actually, we just got the values in today. They're up again greatly. So in order for us to reduce those taxes, you have to reduce the millage rate. And we should reduce the millage rate, or your taxes will continue to go up. It's just a no-brainer. And it hasn't happened before. Over the last 6 years, you know, property values have gone up, and we haven't reduced the millage rate. It's a simple formula. And your property taxes will go down, money will go back into your pocket, And you guys know how to spend money better than the government does. So, and you had another part of that question too. Impact fees. Yeah, we do need to be consistent with impact fees. And there are some commissioners that have voted, wanted to increase impact fees, and there's others that haven't. So the majority rules, so we haven't increased the impact fees.
The ones that haven't, one's a builder. Imagine that. But they're the ones that are lining their pockets.
Yeah, so we need to be consistent with the impact fees with surrounding counties, and we also need term limits, and we can help eliminate that, what you just mentioned. Term limits are so important. Does that answer your question okay?
Mr. Kisselring.
Okay, first of all, I'd rather see cuts first than increases in impact fees. But if we absolutely have to, as limited as possible, because I'm into limiting government. So I don't think we need to keep up with other counties with tax increases. But if we have to increase impact fees a little bit, again, I'd rather see cuts in other areas and cuts in the millage rate so that our taxes go down. Because the developers don't pay the impact fees, the home buyers pay the impact fees. So then the prices of homes goes up, and again, you have less affordable housing on top of all the property taxes that add to the cost of housing. You know, so that's all.
Thank you, sir.
One more thing. Term limits, I haven't gotten to say it yet, but I'm also limiting myself to 2 terms, just so you know.
Thank you very much. Come up again, sir. Welcome back.
Welcome back. Okay, I came from the illustrious Garden State of New Jersey, okay? And where I lived, we were 42 square mile township. And one side of the township was close to the interstates. And it was a lot of warehouses, clean ratables. They don't really impact your fire, first aid, police, for the most part, okay? So I agree 100% with what you were saying. The other thing is, and I don't know who's responsible, but poor people in Punta Gorda with that famous Sunseeker. There's been numerous fatalities over there. Now, from what I've been reading, there was supposed to be a traffic light put in there before Sunseeker opened. What the hell happened? Who approves it?
Okay, so on this one, I think I'm going to do reverse order. So I'm going to start with you, Dave Kisselring, and then I'm going to go to Hal, and then I'm going to ask if you guys want to opine on this question.
Okay, I believe the commissioners approved that. I don't know how many fatalities there were. I know there was a worker, and there will be fatalities. I don't know how well that light's going to work there as far as backing up traffic. It might be safer. I don't know if they need to put a bridge over there, but the problem is, of course, with anything else other than a traffic light, it would be expensive. And I don't know if everybody knows, but all the taxes that are generated by Sunseeker, they stay in that little area in that CRA until they sunset the CRA. They were talking about putting sidewalks for safety from 41 down to the parking area, the grass parking area that turns into a redneck yacht club when it rains. And because there's cars running back and forth there, they want to widen the road and put another sidewalk. They want to spend, I think, $2.5 million or more on that one little sidewalk. And then they want to do one on the other side of Melbourne. So you got to watch out for safety. But again, I don't know why they did not approve a light before that.
Well, the light wasn't. It was supposed to be a light functioning prior to the Sunseeker opening.
Mm-hmm.
Never materialized. Why?
Yeah, I don't actually know who would approve that. Do you know?
Who would have done it?
I read a news article that said that they were on back order for the materials for the light, and that was the only. I believe I know of one accident where there was a death, and then there was a truck that ran into the front of the entrance, as well. Yeah.
Hal?
I'm actually having to go back to impact fees because I want to clarify some stuff with that. So impact fees are so we can plan for infrastructure as we develop, right? And Dave's right. We don't want to just raise stuff, but we want to manage that correctly. Now, I don't know what year it was, but the citizens voted for sales tax of 1%, and that was to help with infrastructure and stuff. The problem with the sales tax is it was touted to do all this infrastructure and projects, but sales tax doesn't pay for operating costs. So where the impact fees, we know what they're going to build a new fire station. If we're using sales tax and we build that new fire station, we're paying operating costs year after year after year. You can't pay that on the sales tax projects. So there's got to be a good balance. You want the balance with the impact fees, and then you want sales tax to do things that it's supposed to. I don't think we should have an additional sales tax in the county. I mean, honestly. But the citizens voted for it because it was touted a certain way. So if it comes up again, I wouldn't vote for it.
Mr. Kalin, would you like to weigh in on this one? Would any of the city council members, Janice, would you like to weigh in? Mr. Bothwell?
I'd like to go back to the other question on taxes. Homeowners could receive slightly larger property tax breaks if voters approve a constitutional amendment that the legislature put on the ballot. The proposal would lead to adjusting the homestead property tax exemption for inflation. They're listening to the retirees who are saying you're pricing us out of our homes because they're getting loud and they're speaking. We have to write letters, we have to get on the telephone, and that's something that Kat and I can help you with. Because when you make enough noise, they start to listen. Now, they're not giving them anywhere near what they should, and I hope we all vote yes on that, because I'm a retiree in a position that doesn't pay, so I would appreciate your help. But on a serious note, if all we do is complain, it doesn't go real far. We have to write letters. We have to get organized. I don't know if Kat wants to start scheduling a bus tour of Tallahassee, but I might help her do that. If all we do is grumble, it's not going to happen. We need quarterly meetings at a minimum like this. We need to write letters, and we have to hold our elected officials accountable. I believe most of them want to do the right thing, but we have to make sure that they're hearing what we want.
Thank you. Kat, would you like to chime in on this one? All right. Thank you so much, sir.
I'd like to just comment on the homestead thing. So the homestead thing, it went on the ballot for all citizens to vote on, and it didn't get voted for. But it didn't get voted for because it was written so complicated, and everybody was afraid that they're voting for something that's actually going to not benefit it. And that was done on purpose. You wouldn't write it. It's very simple. Extra 50,000 or extra 25. It's that simple, but it was written in a way that we wouldn't vote on it because it's going to reduce the tax base. So that's my opinion on that. I just wanted to add that.
Thank you, sir.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I would like to add that, okay, I know Janice told you that 22%, a little over 22% in the city of Punta Gorda, our taxable values went up. That's driven by the market. People came in here, they paid more for their homes than we ever would, and that causes our taxable values to go up. But our millage rate in the city of Punta Gorda was at 3.95, and they have kept it year after year after year, and they're telling us we're going to keep it for next year. We're not going to change the millage rate. We're going to keep it the same. It means they're raising your taxes. That's what it means. So I want you to be aware of that. 22% in 2 years, it's another predicted 18%. So 40% our taxable values went up, and they're still asking us for the same millage rate. We are the 26th county in this state, highest taxes. We are higher than Lee County. We're higher than Sarasota. So if you have a $300,000 home here in Charlotte County, it's going to cost you more in taxes than Lee or Sarasota. And my brother-in-law is the Charlotte County property appraiser, so that's how I know those facts. Thank you.
Thank you.
Taxes. South Cove has their own taxes that get added on for waterway and all kinds of different maintenance. So that adds like another $800 or more onto your taxes. Plus, I don't know if people are aware of it or not, we pay fire taxes, okay, which should include EMS. If you call an ambulance, like I had, you get a bill for $750 on top of what you pay in your taxes.
Just a comment. I read about a bill that was in the state, and they were proposing a study to, instead of having, instead of having property tax, it would be a bigger sales tax. Now, what that would do is it would give people security in their homes, because right now you can get taxed out of your home, but if there's no property tax, you have your home. Food isn't taxed, so you have food, and people can at least survive no matter what. So and it would be a consumption tax, so you'd have a choice. You wouldn't have to. You can grow your own food. You can make your own stuff. You'd have a choice, actually, with that. I don't know how far that'll go, but there's at least there's a study, and there are some states, I think, that do something like that.
Hal?
So the gentleman mentioned about the EMS. So the EMS funding is buried in the general fund, so you don't really see, unless you request from records, reports on EMS. What should be done is fire should be turned into an MSTU, so you can see fire and EMS together, and now you know the service you're paying for. So it's just more visible, and I think that's important for all our stuff. And then we can really look at it and reduce when we need to reduce. It is. And they're all taxes. You call them what you want, they're taxes.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Ma'am.
Well, I hope everyone here understands how important this grassroots event is. Because when government can't do things, the small things, they certainly can't do the big things. And I think we're seeing that with our Congress. Now, I have no party affiliation, so I have no dog in that hunt. I am an independent. But what I also am is the daughter of a woman who escaped communism in Cuba to come to this country. And I think I have a certain perspective that other Americans do not. Not that it's any more important than yours, because I think you're getting it finally, what's going on. But what we saw this past week should terrify everyone, and I was hoping the judges would be here because I want them to hear this. The sham Soviet-style trial we saw that ended in Donald Trump's conviction for a crime that no one can even name. No one knows what the crime was. It should terrify you because his rights are our rights. They're my rights, they're your rights when you go to trial for anything, whatever it is, or when you guys run for office. And what has happened is those rights were shredded when a biased, activist, partisan judge, a county judge, I might add, because Merchan is a county judge. He aided and abetted a rogue prosecutor who used lawfare to target a political opponent through these inventive, weird charges to destroy another person's campaign. So I was hoping the judges would be able to address that. And you boo now until it's your turn. Okay. So I would like your opinion on how campaigns now are being waged through lawfare. Even I know you think, okay, that's the president, or those are Congress seats in Congress. It'll make it down to this level. Don't kid yourself. And the other question I have is for Mr. Kalin, since you're the supervisor of elections, hopefully. A lot of us are concerned about election integrity after what we saw in 2020 and 2022. We're concerned about the machines. We want the machines eliminated. And I don't know what we have to do to get that done, but that's what we want. I mean, that's not funny. It's not funny.
I'm laughing because it is so obvious. It's like the nose on the end of your face and we're not doing anything about it.
No, and that's what I want you to tell the GOP, because people are incensed and they're done with them because they don't hold anybody accountable to anything. And we resent that. That's not why they're sitting in Congress. They need to make these people accountable for the laws they break, and they're not doing it. And we're pissed.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. Let me interject something. I wanted to have him speak on the microphone when he was answering is what I was looking for. But the thing I want to announce to you is the judge candidates by law cannot be here, because of their role in government. So this is a rule. I'm sure they would love to be here and take questions. And I'm sure that we wanted to inform you of these candidates on these flyers, but that's why they're not here. It's not a personal choice. It's a following the rules type thing. And
one last question. You're right. The government should be accountable to us too. They work for us, and they've forgotten that. They think we work for them. So my question to you with term limits, which is a big thing for me too, is there anything in the county charter or the state charters that says that there can't be a petition for a ballot initiative where we, the people, can vote on their terms for term limits or their salaries? Because I find it kind of odd that Congress can vote themselves salaries. That should be something the people should vote for.
thank you. I'm going to start with the committeeman and committeewoman. Then I know Dave has a couple of topics there. I'll go to him next.
You're right. Term limits is a big thing. I am going after term limits. They wouldn't pass it in Tallahassee. Our charter, we can do stuff. People in the county can do stuff with your charter.
Can't we make it a ballot initiative?
There's a way to do it. I'm going to do the research and put it out there. You're right. Because you're right. We need more grassroots people to get fired up, because everything that's going on, I saw this coming 2.5, 3 years ago. Being military, I'm telling you, what I saw when I traveled is coming here. It's here. It is here. And people better really open their eyes, because what they did to Trump, they're doing to other people. I have friends all across the state. It's happening to other people in counties. This is no joke anymore. So you need to get serious, wake up, and join us. We need our grassroots people to 1776 it. That's all I can tell you. We have to do something, because if you don't, our children aren't going to have a free country ever again. We have to rebuild America. We aren't America anymore. It's going. It's going slowly, but it's going. So people need to rise. And that's why I've been doing this, because I can't sit back and watch it. When I took an oath, that oath stays with me till I die. I served 24 years. I traveled the world. Okay, I've seen what goes on. I'm telling you, it's coming. You have to wake up, get people to wake up, rise up, join this movement. We're tired of it too. We're just like you. We pay taxes. We have to go on these roads. We have to watch the flooding. We have to see these kids, human trafficking, all this stuff that's going on. We are trying to fight this, okay? We need help. We need you to join us. We need you to spread the word.
Thank you very much. Mr. Bothwell?
My job when you elect me as committee man is to facilitate some communication so that, thank you for the tip there, to facilitate the communication with our elected officials. It's not my job to just jump on an issue, but to carry your voice and your concerns to Tallahassee and to the Florida Republicans. I have never heard so many people tell me that they're angry and they just don't know what to do. I think if Kat and I can hold quarterly meetings, I'm going to hold them. And I'm going to report back to Tallahassee and to the the Florida Republican Party that this is what our people want and what they're concerned with. I don't think we'll ever see term limits in my lifetime. Of course, I'm older than you are. We can, but I'm not sure that we will, because the people that have to do it aren't going to vote it in. It's when people are running for office, like some of the people up here who say, I'm going to limit myself voluntarily to 2 years. Well, someone running against them may have to say, you know, for me to get elected, I need to do the same thing. But it's a matter of us writing letters and getting active. And if events like this are just events and they're not held on a regular basis, not much is going to change. I've got notes that I've been taking that I will carry to Tallahassee and to the Florida Republican organization, and that's the only way we can start to facilitate change.
Thank you. Mr. Kalin?
I mean, I was hesitant to mention this. So I had a fundraiser that's coming up on Saturday, the 8th. It's at the Vermont Shooting Club, and it's clay shooting. It was a fundraiser for me. We actually changed the fundraiser to a fundraiser for Donald Trump. So all the proceeds are going to go to help Donald Trump in his campaign, because everything you said that happened to him just cannot happen. And it'll happen here. It'll go right down, but it starts there. And we don't want to be a banana republic. We don't want to be a Venezuela, but we're heading that way if we don't. So please come out. It's going to support Donald Trump. It's Saturday the 8th. You can still go on howdaniels.com and register. I'm only bringing it up because of Donald Trump, so all the proceeds will go to him. Nothing will go to my campaign for that.
On the flyers, it has all the contact information for all the candidates, as well as at the table over there. Mr. Kalin?
I'm going to stand up for this one. So I want to look at all of you out here, because we're going to touch on quite a few items here. We don't have a Democrat problem, and we don't have a Republican problem. We've got an incumbent problem. We've got lifelong politicians at every level of our government that have dictated every level of what you're going to do, how you're going to do it, what you're going to pay, what you're going to give. The volume of our money that goes overseas, that is our money, to other nations while we're struggling. We're over a quadrillion behind into the derivative market. That's your pensions. These companies have been allowed to sell your pension 400 times over. It's the same stock to person after person after person. We're broke as a nation. We're broke morally as a nation. So when you ask the question about term limits, our county is a home rule county and we have a charter. We have a charter review board. That charter review board is appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. At the last charter review, multiple people asked for term limits to be added to our charter. It was never considered. One of the things that needs to happen is that charter review board needs to be elected. Number two, when you want to know what's going on in our electoral system and election integrity, none of it means anything once you realize the players behind the scene. The irrefutable fact. Florida, if you are an illegal alien, but you have a Florida ID, and you check the box to say, yes, I'm a U.S. citizen, nobody is required to check that by law. This year, I lobbied to get a bill in front of our state legislature. It made it into committee to use E-Verify to ensure only legal citizens get to vote. Now, we talk about the Republican Party versus the Democrat Party. Our supervisors of election throughout the state are a member of an organization called FSE Incorporated, which means Florida Supervisor of Elections Incorporated. They are paid by your tax dollars. They're a private organization that have a company called Rumba Consulting that have lobbyists to lobby against election integrity bills, and they are very good at this. David Rumba is the owner and one lobbyist. There's a second lobbyist. His name is Evan Power. Many of you may have heard his name. Many of you don't know it. He's the chairman of the Republican Party. I'm a Republican, and I am disgusted that my own party chair is not interested in election integrity. So, some will say you're shooting yourself in your foot with this election by talking about this. Again, I come back to the issue. I'm running for an office that's to be impartial. I'm here to give you the facts. The facts are both parties are working against you. We, the people, need to finally say enough's enough, get it back to the people, quit letting these third-party companies and organizations taking our tax dollars run our elections, get clear eyes on it, make sure our elections are 100% transparent. Our elections machines throughout the state have the capability of imaging every single ballot and putting them online. Do you know they all have it turned off? You could be sitting there after the 2020 election, you could have sat and hand counted every county in the state of Florida to know what happened, precinct by precinct. They don't want you to know, and once you dig under the layers and realize that the onion is rotten at the core, and then our own parties, both of them, are working against us. So we, the people, need to take our parties back to the values that they behold dear to them. I'm going to get off my soapbox now.
I'm going to add to that. So what he says is so true. I've been, for the last 4.5 years, going to these quarterlies, to the Republican Party of Florida quarterlies. And there are 67 counties. I network with all 67 counties, okay? People like me, grassroots. We're not the only county that has issues. So we trade information, we talk, we're bringing people in, we're trying to make a difference. It's really happening everywhere. So grassroots is a great thing, and we really need more people to get involved. We have to take back our county and make sure it's secure, because what's coming is not great. We all know what's coming. No matter if he wins or loses, God, hopefully he wins, November is going to be bad. You're going to see fighting in the streets. And if you think it's not coming here, there are busloads being dumped here. Illegal immigrants. My friends took pictures on, it was in Bradenton on 301, three busloads, okay? They have holding centers at Homestead Air Force Base, Alexandria, Louisiana, a base there, and one out in California, okay? They're flying in, not just from, other states, they're coming from overseas, okay? We're tracking it. There's a program I have on my computer, because I used to work aircraft 24 years. I know what I'm doing with that stuff, so I signed up and I track it. I listen to the sit reps every Tuesday and Thursday. It's going to be bad, okay? You guys really need to start joining the grassroots movement, start paying attention to what's going on, okay? We need help. We need to rise. The other thing you need to know with our military, okay, I know a lot of people still in, some people got out. My husband worked weapons, I worked aircraft. We have sent so many weapons overseas, it's not even funny, okay? For us to get back 1/3 of what we have sent over will take 10 to 20 years. We don't have anything here. If they attack us here, we're screwed. I'm sorry to say that, but we are. We don't have enough here. Okay? So this is serious. We need to do something, and it starts local. Yes, I am pissed about Trump, but it starts local. It's like a cancer, and it just spreads. Now it's up at the top. All these local communities need to band together and rise. So not trying to scare anybody, but I'm giving you a dose of reality, okay? I'm not doing this because I want to do this. I wanted to retire, okay? I retired in 2006, and I'm still doing stuff. I don't get to retire because I have to do something for my grandkids. So I'll get off my soapbox.
Thank you.
This is probably less emotional than some of the other stuff, but I'd like to talk about the charter review a little bit. We have a county charter. It's the closest thing we have to a county constitution. Every 6 years, they meet to review it. A group meets, and they're all appointed by the commissioners, so the commissioners have total power over this. One of the commissioners was on there for like 30 years before he was a commissioner, so you got the same little pool of people. But I went to pretty much every regular meeting they had. I went to more meetings than some of the members. And I suggested things like an elected charter review, okay? County Bill of Rights. Single-member districts. You talk about which district to vote for. That's so much closer to the people when you vote for your own district commissioner instead of voting countywide. And multimillionaires do a lot better when it's countywide. So it's much more affordable for people. Less petitions. There's never been an actual citizen-run initiative that succeeded in Charlotte County ever because the petition number is so high. So I suggested less of those. I suggested an elected county administrator. And I think somebody else suggested term limits before me. And what they did is they just listened to that, they wrote it on a list, and right near the very last day, they put the whole list out and voted up or down. Of course, a Bill of Rights they wouldn't have time for it, right? They skipped it for like 8 months, okay? This is how this works. This is how it's always worked. They're in there to not make any changes. There's nothing in the charter for the people. It's all bureaucratic. It's all for the government. There's no rights in there. I mean, there are counties that have different Bill of Rights. But does everyone understand how that works? We have a charter. They meet every 6 years. It's coming up in a year or two, maybe 3 years. Nobody knows about it. Nobody knows how to get on it. And even if you did, the commissioners appoint it. So, you know, they might throw in a few for just to make it look like there's something in there. But it's going to be the same thing. That's how the charter review works. And there actually is term limits in one place in Charlotte County. I went the last time they had it, and I'm not sure why they threw me this crumb, but there is term limits on the charter review now. So we did finally lose a couple of the ones that were on there forever. But after we got it, they decided to accept it. They changed it to 3 terms. So it's 18 years. And this is the new trick. How many people in here, when you hear term limits, you think 2 terms? Is there anybody that believes 2 terms is term limits? Anybody? You think it's 3? 4? Unlimited? Term limits means limit, right? Limited to 1, 2, it has to be something. Does anybody think term limits is 2 terms? Anybody, raise your hand. Not a lot of people. But the new trick is, okay, well, if somehow the people push this far enough, we'll just change it to 3. That's what's happening with term limits.
Mr. Daniels, do you want to respond to this one? Janine? Janice?
I could only say that we have the exact same thing in the city. There's a charter review committee. I'm not really sure how they're chosen. I think it's exactly as you described it. The leaders, the people who are in office, choose the people who are going to review the charter. And yeah, it doesn't really work well for the people.
Janice, would you like to speak on this? Greg?
I'd like to.
It's not on yet. Okay, go ahead.
The grassroots movement in Punta Gorda started a year ago when council member Debbie Lux ran and won with 72% of the vote. The people that voted for her are still pissed off because she's been working all year long trying to get things done and get things back on track, and they all vote against her. It's five council members, 4 against 1. And they're still pissed off, and that's why we're here. I've talked to people that voted for my incumbent, and he voted for the increased density allowances and things like that, and they're really pissed. And so they're coming strong again with us in this grassroots.
Thank you. Next question.
Wait, real quick.
Go ahead,
I talked a lot about the term limits earlier, but I just think it's something that needs to be mentioned is out of the 67 counties, there's only about 6 of them that don't have term limits, and Charlotte County is one of them. Why?
Thank you.
Everything we've said, that's why.
My name is Crystal Matuzas, and I just wanted to let you know that charter review that you're talking about is nowhere online. We can't find any of that information, so I'm really glad that you mentioned that. That's important. I also wanted to say that I believe that there's a conflict of interest with the builders on our commissioning board. That is wrong, and I want to know what you guys think about that. And is there any way that we can investigate our commissioners' zoning and planning and follow the money, possibly the Sunseeker Resort, and see how much money they got for that?
All right. Let's start with the city council folks. Would any of you like to chime in? Let's start with Greg this time. Greg, would you like to chime in on any of these? Janice?
The person I'm running against brags about all the involvement she has with all these committees and so much history and so much government, and I'm proud to say that I have no history and I don't have any outside influences. I have some experience in another town, but I cannot be bought, and I have nobody trying to buy me, move my vote, influence me at all. And so I think that is got to be pretty refreshing for folks voting for us. So that's what I think.
Janine, would you like to weigh in on this one, and then we'll go to Dave
Yeah,
Kisselring?
real quick, I'll just say we have a lot of city council members who are on all these boards, and wow, isn't that great? They're so involved in the community, and actually it ends up being a conflict of interest. And when we tell them, we want you to recuse yourself because it's a conflict of interest, you belong to, let's say it's the YMCA, you were on the board of the YMCA and you're trying to give up Cooper Street to the YMCA, they're like, what are you talking about? There's no conflict of interest. And, you know, it's optics. It's about optics. It's how things look to the voter. If we think you have a conflict, then you do. So that's all I want to say about that.
Thank you. Dave Kisselring, and then we'll go to Hal after that.
Well, it's simple. Vote them out. Unelect them. It's up to the voters. I mean, you've got to see what they're doing. You got to watch meetings. You want to find out about zoning. Well, watch some of the meetings. They're all online. They're all the commissioner meetings. I mean, they are kind of choreographed, but I think the zoning meetings are a little less so because I don't think many people watch them. But you start by looking at that. You pick little things out, and then you got to do some public records requests. There's no way to find out if you're talking about like kickbacks or anything like that. There's no way to really find that out. You can't get into that, as far as I know, without some kind of evidence to I guess, subpoena that stuff. You know, that's tough. But you can certainly find out enough to know what's going on, and you need to share it. You need to share it around. Share it with us, so we have it. If you find anything like that, everyone needs to get on here and start watching them. Yeah. Okay, most people don't even watch the meetings, the commissioner meetings, and some of them are long, but you can go through some of them. Probably the first thing you want to watch is the citizens' input, because they're looking at that stuff, a lot of them, and they'll bring forth a lot of information, and that's pretty quick. That's toward the beginning. They only get 3 minutes each, if they're lucky. There could be 6 or 8 items on the agenda. You get 3 minutes, and then they have all the time they want to respond. But yeah, you got to start looking at you got to start watching them. Everyone has to start watching them.
Well,
Not only do you have to watch them, you have to check their history, because right around now, people start to act more conservative, more like they're listening to you. They're starting to hold town hall meetings and stuff. Well, what were they doing a year ago, 2 years ago, when they did that budget, or when they did the high density that we're also against? So watch their history. Don't watch the 6 months or 2 months before the election.
Okay, Hal?
Well, instead of belonging to all these committees, I think, as I mentioned earlier, I would prefer having these type of events to be at, are these. Because the citizens are the ones that know what the county needs better than anyone. Not these special interests, not all these committees. It's these guys. And we should go to every area of the county and do the same thing when it's not an election year. I think that's the best way to know really what this county needs, because y'all know much better than a commissioner knows what the county needs. Now, we do have input because we're citizens too. But when you get everybody's opinion, you know better what's in the county needs. So,
Mr. Kisselring, go ahead with your follow-up.
As far as the charter review, there is a YouTube channel called Charlotte County's Greatest Hits. And there are a few of the meetings on there and some other videos that you can learn a lot about what went on in the charter review this year. Charlotte County's Greatest Hits on YouTube.
Mr. Kalin.
I have 2 questions for everyone in this room. The first one is, are you happy with the state of your nation? Are you happy with the state of your county? If you're not, why do you keep voting the same people into office? Take a chance. Maybe you'll have a different outcome.
Thank you. Mr. Bothwell, would you like to chime in on this one at all, sir? All right, thank you. Anyone have any follow-up before we go? Come on, Ms. Lux.
I have a couple of questions, but first of all, does everybody know that if you move, change your address, somebody moves here, they automatically go to NPA, nonpartisan? So if you're voting in the primaries, please make sure you're registered to whoever you belong to, okay? Make sure that you do that. A second thing is, can all of you make sure that the websites are easy to use? I can't figure out who is in the primary to vote on August 20th. Who is it? And the other thing is, now we all want to have more money in our pockets, right? Every single one of us. Can you do something to save money for us? Mr. Kalin, I'm going to start with you. Do you think that you're going to put your face on everything and put your name on everything? Can I ask all of you, are you going to put your names and everything on paperwork that gets distributed? We really want to make sure that we save money, because it's your money that's going out here. So that's my question.
Thank you so much.
All right, so I've tried to run a very gentlemanlike campaign against the young woman I'm running against. On day one, our great seal in the Supervisor of Elections office was taken off the wall that said Charlotte County Supervisor of Elections. Now we have this big, giant, 3-foot white seal that says Leah Valente, Supervisor of Elections. We've got 5-foot tall, 6-foot tall cardboard cutouts in many of our offices, and if that's not it, we've got larger-than-life posters of oneself in every one of these offices with glamour shots. I don't see that as a wise use of taxpayer money. I get it. I'm an old guy. I'm starting to look like the Marlboro Man, and I'm embracing that. I'm a farmer. I don't need to have my face plastered because this, for me, is not about me. This is about your vote. And let's put every dollar that we have available in that budget to securing our election systems, as well as educating our voters. I'm appalled. Our last website for our SOE, it was antiquated, it was not up to date, but you could navigate it. The current webpage for our Supervisor of Elections, I can't even say it's less than stellar. It needs thrown in the trash, and the large, giant photos of oneself all over it could be places to have the information that's actually pertinent to our election systems and when it's time to vote, to let us know who's up for which vote. Let us know about these universal primaries, because so many people don't understand that if you have a race that you only have 2 Republicans in your race or 3 Republicans in your race and no opposing party and no write-ins, that's the end of that election in the primary. So whoever gets elected in that August primary is your winner. None of that's posted out there. It's very difficult to find. It's not a streamlined website. So somebody who's been programming at the machine level code since I was 6 years old, I can assure you we can streamline this. You bring in the proper professionals. You make sure it's beta tested before it actually goes out for public use. That way, you're not thumbing through it as you go and getting taken to some other who knows what site when you're clicking on links, but also to educate the voter to everything they need to know. That is crucial. I couldn't tell you, when we're out there walking from door to door, going home to home, the amount of people go, there's an election in August? Because they don't know. They don't realize. Or they pull out their voter ID card, and it's one of the older ones, and it's all wrong. The information's incorrect on it because it hasn't been updated properly, or the previous administration sent out an erroneous one and never bothered to correct the information on it. Accuracy is paramount in this business. You need to have the correct information, and if you can't trust them with getting the information on your voter ID card right, what makes you think they're going to get your vote right? So that is why we need many, many, many eyes watching this office.
Dave Kalin, I want to mention this because I know you know. Can you explain the MPA thing that happened when people were registering to vote? And in addition, who can vote in the primary election if it's closed versus open?
So the motor voter situation, which Debbie just asked about. So a little over a year ago, there was an update, and it wasn't just Florida, it's multiple states. There's a vendor that writes the software for the motor voter registration. It also goes into state IDs. So if you either renew it, you move within the state, your ID in the system automatically got reverted from whether you were a Democrat or Republican. This was not a left or right problem. It was just a oversight by the company designing the software that you went to NPA. I will say that most of the clerks that work the DMV office, the tax office, catch it, and they move you back to the party affiliation you're supposed to be with. Some of them just don't catch it. And hey, you're in there, you're looking at, oh, yep, that's the right information. You're not looking at your party affiliation, you're looking at your address. You're looking to see if it's your photo on that thing. And yep, that's it, and it prints out, and then you show up to vote, which we had dozens in the primary this year that couldn't figure out why they were NPAs. Well, did you just change your license in the last year? Well, yes. There you go. So my opponent said this was conspiracy theory. Well, I'll let you know how conspiracy theory this is. The state requires a vote because it's registration, that software that changes state procedure. They actually have a fix for it this fall and a bill for the House and Senate to vote on to fix the motor voter registration problem with the vendor. So I don't think conspiracy theories get their own bills. So again, it comes down to having somebody who's more concerned about your data and your information and getting you educated as a voter versus having their glamour shots spread all over everything that's out there SOE.
Thank you.
So yes, there are websites you can go out to. WebElect, there's a couple others that you can go out to actually check your voter registration to see what you're affiliated with. If you're a Republican and you want to verify it and you're not sure where to go, call your Republican office. They can pull the software right up. You can give them your information. They'll tell you exactly if you are registered as that party. If you're a Democrat, go out to the Democratic Committee. They'll pull your information right up. They'll tell you if you are. And if neither one of them have you, you just got put in the NPA category, and your voice is not going to get heard in August.
Testing. Testing, 1, 2. The last question was about waste, and it's not just paper waste. What our county has on their video archive is a bunch of videos they've made over the years. One year it was all about the county dancers, or the county employees dancing to Christmas music. They have all these, everything's beautiful, everything to pat themselves on the back, everything that makes the county look great. They've got them back quite a few years. One thing they did, though, is they decided to knock out all the videos of meetings prior to 2 years. There's only 2 years worth of meetings now because they might get caught. But they left all those other videos. And those other videos, they were expensive, I get it. So they got to leave them up there. But that costs a lot of money to produce those videos. And I don't really see where they just try to bolster up the county and make it look, the county government look better, not the county. Yeah, that's a big waste of money there if you're talking about money waste.
I will come back and follow up on the question of waste when I hear the next question.
Okay, I was a poll watcher, and I hope you guys actually pick up our cards, the RAC 1776 cards, and maybe come out and help us poll watch, because without you guys watching, we need 150 people. And all you need is a couple hours during the day to go do it. And it's simple, and we can actually teach you, you know, what the criteria are and what you're going to do, what you need to watch for, things like that. It's not hard. It's real easy. So, so poll watching is definitely the thing that I would say, you know, try to include yourself into. And Carolyn over there at the far right, you can probably talk to her before you leave. The second one be amendment. I know the last amendment, I think they had, and I want to make sure this is correct, that they had the amendment and we voted yes because we only get to see so much on that sample ballot. So when we look at something, we're not really seeing what's on the rest of the amendment that's stuffed all in there. So did they give themselves a raise where they could give themselves a raise, the commissioners? There's anything like that went on one of the amendments?
No, state salaries for commissioner, supervisor election, or any of your elected officials is based on your registered voters or your population. So it is a percentage of the population, and they calculate your salary based on that.
So what's really important be to watch the amendments. So what would you say to us how to read an amendment? Because it's actually foreign to a lot of people when they look at it, and they don't get to see it on the sample ballot. Where can they go to find the rest of the amendment?
Currently, there's nothing on the SOE's website that I know of for these current amendments. That's where it's going to be to behoove you to go out and actually research each amendment that's being brought up. Some folks may be for or against some of these amendments, even within their own party. I know one of the controversial ones this year is whether or not make marijuana legal and for personal use. So that one is going to be one that is a personal, deep decision. And so if you go out to the RACC's website, Right Action Charlotte County, they've taken the time to post the full amendments if you want to go out and look at them and read them. And I encourage you to look at it. You can also go out and find out who the authors, who are the individuals that went out there stomping the feet to get these amendments on there. And you can quickly understand which group or groups are for or against these amendments. So I'd encourage you, every one of you, to educate yourself, to understand what's truly going on behind amendments out there, because these do affect your lives. Some of them not so much as others, but it does have an impact in your life. So educate yourself on those amendments. And that's one of those things, I assure you, once I'm in office, every one of those amendments will be on there, including the authors and how they were drafted. which groups promoted it, and you will have all that information available to you in one streamlined location. Also want to tout one more thing. We have an aging community here in Charlotte County. We're retirees here. Many of us are having trouble with our eyesight, me included. We're going to have 2 websites. You're going to have a button on there that if you have a little bit aging eyes like myself, everything's going to be in much larger print so you can see it nice and easy. So that is my promise to that section of our community that is just like me, needing some glasses. We're going to try to streamline this and make it easy for you.
Thank you so much. I'm going to inject myself to bring back a question we didn't finish allowing the panel to speak on, the idea of waste. I know Dave and Dave have spoken on this already. Hal, first, would you like to chime in on simple waste? Like there was talk of the cutouts and things like this that might be about the candidate or the person holding office versus the actual office.
So there's many facets to budgets. Cutting costs is one way to put money back in your pockets, but there's other ways. There are budgets that are budgeted every year that they don't spend all the budget. So without getting you too far into accounting, which I could talk all night about, you have an account line that has $2 million for equipment and you spend $300,000 of that equipment, yet we're still budgeting every year that $2 million. So we're basing our revenue, the tax, what everyone pays, based on those budgets. So we need to dig it, like I said, we need to dig into those budgets closer and fix those discrepancies. And that will make it where we can reduce the revenue and put money back into our pockets. The other thing is we can stop some waste based on decisions we make as commissioners. So there's a fire station that needed repairs, and it was going to be about $400,000 to $500,000 to get it up to code. Now this is pre-Ian, so it had nothing to do with hurricanes. It just needed to be up to code. It had a lot of problems, but instead of getting it up to code and spending $500,000, they built a new fire station for $4.5 million. That fire station only has 2 people per shift and has very few calls. It's on one of our barrier islands. So that's the kind of stuff that we can save money on. That's not necessarily just cutting an expense line. It's big, and I know this directly because it's exactly where I live. I have to pay for the fire station out there. But those are just some examples, other than inefficiencies in the budgets and cutting costs. But that's a real huge cost difference. $500,000, it would have got it up to code. It would have survived. Most of the houses out on the island survived, and there's some that didn't, some really old ones, but they weren't up to code. But that's it.
Thank you. Greg, would you like to chime in on this one?
Yes. Is this working? Yes. I'm running to bring fiscal responsibility, integrity, common sense, and transparency, or help bring it, along with Debbie and Janice, back to the city council. I want to refocus our budget priorities on the infrastructure things that we need. The flooding that occurs in downtown Punta Gorda makes our evacuation routes unsafe. And yet they want to spend $20 million on a city Taj Mahal because they deserve it. And a splash pad for the kids. Well, that's nice, but it's over budget and over due in being completed. So I want to bring more common sense to our budget priorities and spend the taxpayers' money where the taxpayers want it spent.
Janice, would you like to chime in on this one?
Well, the city of Punta Gorda has problems maintaining what they already own, and then they want to have this huge, he calls it a Taj Mahal, he's not wrong, and nobody wants to spend 16 to 20 million when we don't have proper roads, we don't have good drainage, we have lousy water, you can't even drink it a lot of the time. So those are the things that people care about, and there's things we want to make our city more beautiful, but not on it's like a special interest thing, that City Hall. Who's going to really appreciate that? I won't, even if I'm a council member. I'll say, gee, I feel so bad. But it's not going to happen if we get elected. We're going to find a way to reverse the stuff they've started. And so, yeah. So the buildings that they did not maintain, one of them, the Bayfront, is they didn't even bother tarping the roof after Hurricane Ian, and now they're talking about tearing it down. Well, it is blocking one of the council members' views, so I guess maybe that came into it. Who knows? But so there's, there's things that if you own stuff, you have to take care of it, and at least tarp over the roofs before and after the hurricane if they're needing a new roof. Simple. We all do it, right?
Thank you. Janine, would you like to chime in on this one too?
Yeah, I'm going to say, just, from an appraisal standpoint, it is the most expensive time that we've ever seen to construct anything, ever. Why are our city council or even our county commissioners building new buildings? I want to know that. We know as appraisers, people are finding out, oh, these aren't feasible. These buildings aren't feasible. Okay, I'm not going to build it. That's what happens to real people. Why aren't we using what we already have? We have buildings we can use. For City Hall, it's crazy we're not using the county courthouse on Taylor Road in Olympia is absolutely empty except for this SOE. We could go up there, we could be using or utilizing the little courtroom. It holds plenty of people for our meetings. There's no reason to have a City Hall. Plus there's a ton of parking there. But no, they want to build a 3-story, okay? They're going to tear down part of our City Hall that they already added on in the 70s. It's not big enough. So they want to tear it down, do 3 stories, and guess what? The 3rd story is just shell space. It's not even going to be space for the office. And then, get this, 20 to 30 employees will be in our $20 million City Hall. You can't make this stuff up, right? And we try to tell them, hello, we appraise commercial property. We know how much price per square foot you're paying, and that's ridiculous. You won't find that anywhere. It's going to be the most expensive building in all of Charlotte County per square foot that's been built. And they just look at you like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's crazy. So yeah, we need to have people in there that are willing to listen to the people, number one. And number two, make good decisions. It's not that hard.
Thank you. Mr. Bothwell, would you like to weigh in on the spending issue?
I'm going to pass on the spending issue and talk about something else if I can.
Go ahead.
Because I think we're running out of time. I need your vote in the primary. Either I survive it or I don't. I need your support and your prayers because what we're doing here today and this year is very important. If you would like me to come back after my quarterly meetings and have quarterly meetings at different locations in the county and communicate with you directly what's going on, I would appreciate your vote. If you would like me to carry your concerns to the RPOF, Republican Party of Florida, you want me to carry it to Tallahassee, I need your vote. I think spending is something we always have to keep an eye on. However, our number one problem, I think, is communication and listening to each other.
Thank you, Kat. Would you like to weigh in on spending?
Everyone has a budget in their household, so why shouldn't the county and the city have a budget and go by it? Don't go beyond your means at all. I mean, it's common sense, like they said, so.
Okay, this is just a kind of a comment. I just want to know how many people here live here in South Gulf Cove by raising your hand? Wow. Okay. Just talking about the grassroots. We are all the grassroots people here, and we have been out canvassing, getting people to know about this, this town hall. This is what showed up. I want you to know how hard it is to get the word out. People say all the time, yeah, we're gonna be there, yeah, we'll be there, we're gonna bring our friends. This is what shows up. A lot of you people I recognize because you come and you're supportive all the time, over and over and over again. We need new people. We need more people to show up. If you want to get anything done in this county, in this country, we need more people to spread the word and get here and show up. That's all.
Thank you. Do I have any more? Do you have a question, Carl? Come up here, please.
I got a question for David. Are you going to be transparent with the records request processes and all that kind of stuff? Are you going to forward them over to the commissioners whenever people put them in? I mean, how are we going to do that?
So the state has a series of laws under the Sunshine Act to ensure that you have full transparency, short of direct personal information from employees or outside that cannot be released. Those are redacted documents. The county's actually been pretty good with providing documents to myself at the county level. My opponent has stalemated in almost every record request. She's fulfilled a few, but there's quite a few I have not received. I'm still waiting on multiple requests. If you don't have transparency in your government when you ask for the records, how are you going to trust them to count your vote right? If they don't want to be transparent with something as simple as a note that came across the desk and ended up in a file, you're really going to trust that person. And I'm not trying to beat my opponent up, but again, spending more time in front of the mirror and glamorizing, putting her name on the side of the election van than actually doing her job.
So you mean vanity's not a prerequisite?
Again, I'm the Marlboro man. I'm looking old.
All right. Well, and second of all, the MSBU and the MSTUs, are those something that we really need, or are those just something that they like to have because they can switch it all over the county whenever they need maintenance and repairs?
Go ahead, Hal, first.
Well, is it gonna? Can you
You're
hear me
ready.
now? Okay. So let me just explain a little bit about the MSBU. The reason a lot of the MSBUs were set up is because we had so many vacant lots. So they had to, if you have an MSTU or it comes out of the general fund, you have less people paying more money. Where MSBU, they can isolate an expense and charge that area. I'm not a fan of MSBUs, and that we have lots of them. I would like to get rid. So some MSBUs you have to have, but I would like to get rid of them. Well, here, an example in MSBU is your fire service. That's an MSBU. Multiple Service Business Unit it's an acronym. Government loves acronyms. An MSTU is Multiple Service Taxing Unit. Fire is a service, but it's all taxes. But that's kind of what MSBU, and the difference of MSBU is MSBU is a fee, is charged like a fee, like the fire service, and then MSTU is based on the property value. So MSTU is your ad valorem taxes, and your MSBUs are your non-ad valorem taxes. So, not a fan of MSBU. So yeah, I think you can eliminate a lot of them. It is always. So we always want less of everything, right?
Mr. Kisselring,
good, Carl?
Maybe you can address this, and if you wouldn't mind, maybe you can distinguish the valorem versus the non-ad valorem versus ad valorem taxes, how they're taxed. I think they're curious from what I'm picking up from the audience. They want to understand how do they act differently. So a non-ad valorem tax, how is that calculated versus when you have the millage with the valorem tax, ad valorem tax?
Well, the ad valorem tax is basically what you're talking about with your millage rate. The other ones have some other kinds of assessments. They've got MSBUs, MSTUs, the fire assessment, which was going to be 25%, and everyone came out, and they finally lowered it to 15, and then raised the next year's it's going to go up again. But I'm not sure what more you want me to do. I do know that MSBUs, a lot of times, it's kind of a way to divide and conquer the people. I know when they did the sewers, they'd get one group, and those MSBUs, a friend of mine said his taxes tripled. So his property tax bill tripled, even though his millage rate didn't triple, but it tripled because of that. But see, the rest of the county doesn't understand all the expenses, just that little group. So that little group got out. They still got 400 people, 350 people out. Nobody listened to them, really. But basically, they divide and conquer that way. If they actually made, say, the sewers countywide, everyone would see that and they'd be like, well, maybe we don't need so many sewers. Maybe we just need them in certain areas, rather than the huge thing they're doing now. But it's not just sewers. It's just I guess when they want to fix a road in a certain area, or maybe even the sidewalks, they split it up. But again, if it was on your whole bill, everyone would be getting that huge bill instead of certain people getting triple bills and other people maybe slightly lower or the same. But what else are you looking for with that?
Well, I guess I can answer what I was saying is there's restrictions on the taxation because of homestead and save your homes is what I was kind of digging for.
Oh, of course, the non-ad valorem. Yeah, you get breaks there. You don't get breaks if you're a renter. You don't get breaks if you are not homesteaded. But if you do, as far as I'm concerned, I'm set up very well because we have a very small house. We live within our means. We bought a long time ago. So basically my property tax portion is almost nothing. But all the other stuff still comes out and I still get a tax bill, and if I don't pay it, I'm still in trouble either way. It's still on my tax bill. So, some commissioners maybe might want to say that those aren't taxes, assessments aren't taxes, and only the property tax is your property tax. But it's all your property tax. Is that what you're looking for?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
And a little bit about those MSBU units versus ad valorem. So with your ad valorem, you're governed by state maximum tax increases under Save Our Homes. For an MSBU, it is outside of that. Perfect example was a number of years ago, back in 2020 into 21, my community, Charlotte Ranchettes. It's got about 38 miles of dirt road. We had an MSBU. We were paying $100 per acre. That was for road maintenance and drainage. And at $100 per acre, it was fairly reasonable. We unfortunately had some shoddy contractors, the citizens spoke up and said, we're done with the poor work that was being done. So the county came in with a plan at $400 an acre. Well, imagine somebody like myself with 10 acres. That's a huge tax bill. And some of the commissioners will tell you that's not a tax. Guaranteed, if I didn't pay my MSBU fee, I'm going to lose my home. So instead, we outcried, hand them a plan, and at first I thought they abandoned us. I found out they just ceased servicing our MSBU. So they quit collecting. It still exists. They can still open it up and at any time reach in and start adding that back onto my tax bill. So I encourage you to really look at your MSBU that you pay, whether it's for a waterway, road and drainage. It could be for anything. It could be for sidewalks. Rotunda's got one for sidewalks. So start to look at your MSBU and get involved, because some of these MSBUs are very, very, very expensive. And when you look at using county contractors or FDOT certified contractors, they're not even following the bid process. So I will give you a quick example because it is a cost-saving measure. In my community, every contractor that came out there to grade dirt roads had to be FDOT certified, which all that means is that company had to have the full amount of that job cost sitting in their bank account should they go belly up on the job. Well, they've got to borrow that money or charge you interest for that money to have it sit in that account, which raises the cost to do that job because they're going to pass on that interest or that fee or the convenience of it. Florida statute dictates if it is maintenance, does not have to be FDOT qualified contractor, which opens it up to so many more contractors that are willing to do it for so much less. Again, it's one little example of when your government's involved, it's a $10,000 hammer instead of a $499 hammer. So we've got to really start, and that's where I believe Hal and Dave here will be really looking through those county budgets to identify these types of issues. How can we do it better? How can we do it cheaper? What can we do as a cost-saving measure without sacrificing safety or quality? From my office, I will look at every aspect of that budget to say, where can I save money for you, the taxpayer? Because the budget for the office I'm seeking comes from your taxes. And then it is appointed to that office for an annual budget. First off, You're not going to see my name on the side of an election van. You're not going to see 6-foot cardboard cutouts of myself or posters of myself. I also don't need my photo, which is, I think, now a thing in every one of the offices throughout the county. We can save money there. There's ways to do things electronically internally as well. They're going to be cost effective, more time productive. That's going to save you money as well as speed up the productivity within the office to be able to handle things. So knowing these two gentlemen personally and knowing what they stand for, I know we will all be working together to say, how do we run this like our own home checkbook? Because you make X, you've got to pay Y. It doesn't mean you get to go out on a Saturday and buy a brand new Corvette and go back to your employer on Monday and say, give me my raise, I bought a car. It doesn't work that way. So we need to get our elected officials in line with that kind of a budget. You've got to work within what we have. That's my commitment to you, and it's my commitment to work with the folks up here.
Thank you. I want to go to the city council candidates. Do you want to chime in on this before we go to a close?
I'll just real quickly say everybody needs to be on the lookout for, I believe it's in September, where they start going over your next year's fiscal years, you know, all of the financials. Go to those meetings. Listen to what they're saying. Get the paperwork, whatever it is you need to do to educate yourself on where they're spending this money. And start to realize that a lot of things get put on the back burner. We notice that as we're going through some of the Punta Gorda stuff that was, you know, supposedly had money for it was put aside until they can get back to it later. We don't understand what's happened to that money. Where did it go? How's it? So there are a lot of questions that we're still asking. You need to go to the meetings, educate yourself, figure it out, look at it. We use groups of people sometimes because two heads are better than one, right? So try to get groups of people. Hey, did you look at this? How do you understand it? How are you reading it? So just try to, amongst yourselves, work together through those financial, but be there at those meetings so they see you. You need to be there, okay?
Thank you. Janice, would you like to chime in on this one?
Are we talking budget still?
Say again?
Are we talking budget still?
And anything that you want to talk about with budgeting, or if you want to address any of the issues we've been going on, if you want to come back, feel free.
Obviously, fiscal responsibility, accountability, transparency, and you guys showing up helps. And there's people who are experts in certain fields, like we pulled in an expert in understanding pension plans, because there's a lot of money that a city can throw at a pension plan. Some of it's good, some of it's bad. Somebody who's an expert in that field can help work that through. So we don't expect to be experts in every field, but we will pull people in to get advice, to get help when and as needed.
And I'd just like to add, please let your friends know about us in Punta Gorda, the Grassroots movement going on down there, and don't forget about these judges at the bottom of this page, that you can vote for them.
I'm going to go back after this. I'm going to go back and we're going to go down and do a closeout, and then I'm going to have... No, it's okay. So we're going to go down the row, and then I'm going to introduce two candidates for school board as well at the very end. Thank you. Kat, you want to chime in? Are you set? Or do you want to go to closing?
All I have to say is vote for this whole table up here, and we're going to bring the county back to where we need to be. Okay? I have my cards. I'm going to put them out. I have my personal number on there. You can call me at any time, email me at any time. I am willing to come talk to anybody.
Everyone, before we do the final closeout with the candidates, hang on to this if you want to look up further information or reach out to them via email. Their websites often have phone numbers as well. Please check these things out, and you can get further information. And of course, obviously, the judges are not able to be here, so if you want to check out information about them as well, you can begin to start researching those candidates as well. Hal, can you close this out for your part?
Sure. First, I want to say thank you for being here, everyone. It shows that you do care about the process. And I decided to run because I felt the same way. We have $1 billion budget, including transfers, and we have a little over 200,000 citizens. There is plenty of room to reduce that budget. We're going to do that. If you want somebody that likes to talk a lot, I'm probably not your person, but I'm a person that is going to work every day, full time, digging into these budgets, digging into these zoning rules, digging into the things that you guys are most interested in and most important, like they talked about the infrastructure, the waterways, the drainage. It's about what you guys want. So we're going to continue to have these meetings, even, like I said earlier, even after we get elected. So go to my website. If you have concerns, questions, I need to hear from you. haldaniels.com. Please take the time to do that. I can't do it unless you guys tell me what you need and what your main concerns are. And it's great that this was set up tonight because we did hear a lot of those concerns. And we're kind of hearing the same concerns throughout the county, even when we knock on doors. And like Kathy said earlier, these are an amazing group of people who are working so hard for all of you. They're doing it for us as candidates, but they're doing it you because they want the same changes you guys want. So get out to vote August 20th. And again, thank you so much for being here. We really do appreciate it.
Janine?
Okay, I'll just say thank you so much, RACC, for putting this on tonight. I know it took a lot of time. You guys really did a nice job. I'm very, very much impressed. And I'd just like to say, you know, it's time for a change everywhere. And if you're not happy, then don't vote for the same people. Educate yourself. Go educate your friends. Go tell your friends what's going on. Take them to lunch. Say, hey, take them to coffee. Hey, what are you up to? Let's, you know, get together and talk about something I saw last night or heard last night. So just, you know, get out and vote. And I hope you guys are ready as much as we are to make a change. It's hard to get up here and speak and go to different places and speak to people. We've been educating ourselves for the last year or two. Debbie Lux and I have really worked hard to get our community involved and educating our little Punta Gorda. These guys have to educate all of Charlotte County. It's not easy, so please support them any way you can. Thank you.
Wise woman here. Vote in that primary. Vote in the primary. Have your voice heard. If you're an NPA, I encourage you, if you have a candidate that you think you like, either party, it's somebody who you think resonates with you, change your affiliation in your primary so you can make that voice count. It's important. It's important. We're in uncharted territory with our nation, with our economy, where things are headed. This year is probably one of the most crucial elections in the history of our nation to determine our path forward, not only as a nation, as a state, as a county. Election integrity has become at the forefront of the conversations of what's going on. So many of the court cases early on that were dismissed for merit are now being heard. We're finding so many issues within our election system. A little while ago, I met a woman named Kathy Chamberlain. She invited me on a podcast. I had some documents I wanted to share with her, some information that had happened. And she asked me, well, how can this be if we're the gold standard? If the gold standard was fool's gold, that's what we would be. Because what we're finding is there are so many cracks in the system that allow so much wrong into it. We have got to lock this down. We've got to have the skill set. You need somebody that's more than a PR person. You need somebody who knows how to dig. You need somebody that knows systems integrations. You need somebody that knows how to program. You need somebody with a security background. I'm that guy. So, August 20th, if you don't want any more life-size cardboard cutouts, vote for Dave.
Well, thank you again, everybody, for coming out. This is historical for Charlotte County, okay? Many years we've had no grassroots candidates. We had 2 last year, which was historical. I'm so proud of this whole group that's up here. And almost every position has somebody else running against an incumbent, okay? Does anybody have, what do you think of term limits, up or down? How about a thumbs up for term limits? Okay, this is the way it is for most of America. We need to change things. Again, my goal is smaller government. It's going to be smaller government. It's been smaller government. I've been speaking for over 10 years. I actually started out with the Ron Paul campaign, if you know who Ron Paul is. Rand Paul campaign. He wants government so small you can't even see it, okay? You've heard Rand Paul speak. I mean, this is our guy. This is our standard bearer, but I believe I align with both of those men. Those are my favorite guys. Again, it's historical. Our country, our state, and our county, it's like the frogs boiling in the pot that haven't gotten out. It's progressive. You heard the word progressive. It's been getting progressively worse. We've got to pay half our money or more in taxes. We've got to ask permission for everything. People have to live in fear of the code enforcement officer coming by, okay? That needs to stop. That's why I'm running. I've been tired of it for a long time. I had to run. No one else would do it. I had to run this year to try to make a change. And this is grassroots. This is word of mouth. If even half the people in here would just get out and really work their tails off to spread the word. Does everyone in here have an email list? Anybody have an email? Does anyone do email anymore? Just a few. Get an email. Well, if you don't have an email list, it doesn't matter. Okay, how about Facebook? Does anyone use Facebook? Wow. Find somebody. Learn how to use Facebook. Create a Nextdoor. Yes, thank you, Nextdoor. Does anyone use Nextdoor? A few people, okay. Learn how. Create a Facebook account. You don't have to tell them. You don't have to give them any information other than ours. Go on there and share the information on us. Go word of mouth then. Go to your neighbors. How about that? Does anyone have any neighbors? Yay! Go to your neighbors and just tell them about us. Tell them about the websites. Grab some business cards before you go out. Plenty of business cards, and just distribute them to your neighbors and ask them to distribute them, because that's how Grassroots works. It's really word of mouth. We don't have the millions to do mail-outs to 100,000 people, okay? The incumbents do. They're all multimillionaires, okay? It's the money against the people. The people have to do something, or the money's going to control you forever. Thank you for coming out.
I'm from part of Punta Gorda where there's a lot of retirees, and they'd really like to just sit back and enjoy life. But a few of them got educated, including myself, and they're stepping up. They were shocked at the things that were going on in our little town. I think people are shocked when they hear about what's going on in our county and the waste. Yeah, and so once they waken up, they get motivated. And so that's why you can help tell them. We're doing everything we can to tell them. We're doing meet and greets. My website, JanisDenton.com, if you want to learn. If you know anybody from Punta Gorda, that's pretty easy, Janis, Denton.com. And on there's a little bit more information about myself. We all have websites that tell you more about who we are and why we're doing what we're doing and what our background is. So you can learn more about us, and you can spread the word. Even send out to your email list, we all have them, check out this person, check out this group. These are some people you might consider voting for. We have to spread the word one way or another, and we need your help. So thank you very much for having us, and thank you for listening.
Greg.
I'd also like to thank you all for coming out, and thank the RAC for this evening and everything else that they do. They're quite incredible. My website wasn't ready when they printed this. It's real easy, julianforpg.com. Julian for pg.com.
Greg, do you have cards up here? Do you have cards?
I have some cards.
He has cards if you need them.
Well, folks, if you want transparency, you want communication with the RPOF, if you want to know what's going on, you like your committee man to have quarterly meetings, I'm your guy. I brought some flyers. It has my email, phone number, you name it on there. If you'd like to be one of my 5,000 letter writers, just send me an email, a text, a phone call, because I'm committed to doing it. God bless you.
KathleenPellegrino.com is my website. My number is 239-919-6941. I appreciate everything the RAC has done. These guys are amazing. We have been doing this for months, door knocking for every single person up here. Grassroots is very important. I want to make sure you understand how important that is. As state committeewoman, like John said, we are going to educate you. We're going to bring the information to you, your information back up to them. We're going to get you educated, going up there, seeing how things work. We're going to have the town halls, like he said. We are in it to make this a great county. We have to be the change. We can't sit down on the couch anymore. You have to get up and be active. I'm very passionate about what I do. I have a lot of drive, so sometimes I'll get too passionate, but that's me. So you get what, you see what you get, okay? But I will always be honest to you. I will be transparent because integrity matters, or I wouldn't have been in the military for 24 years. And let me tell you, I am your girl. So vote for me, August 20th, Kathleen Pellegrino, State Committeewoman.
Thank you. Everyone, I have two announced. This is for school board candidates that want to introduce themselves to you. And before I have them come up, I want to do this before I forget. Please, if you look on this paper, if you still have it, and I believe there's cards up there, there's a way to get the website, but the RACC1776.com, RACC, so it's Right Action. So yeah, so that's the club right here on the bottom left of your brochure. Go to their website to keep up to date with town halls and other things going on. One easy way to share, if people that you know use Facebook, you can all share posts. So follow the Facebook page. Go on next door, make your voice heard. You can do those types of things as well. I want Leonardo Trent to come up here and introduce himself. He's running for school board.
Hi, so I'm Leonardo Trent. I'm running for Charlotte County School Board. There are, here in 2024, the upcoming election, there are 3 school board districts up. And I'm running in District 2. Karina Schmidt over there is running for District 3. District 5 is up. That's Wendy Atkinson's seat. There's no one opposing her. But we have 2 competitive school board district elections. I'm a recent class of 2024 graduate from Charlotte High School. So I graduated less than a month ago, and I have experience. And I just came out of the school system, and I know what's going on here. With the public schools, the first experience anyone experiences with government is in the public schools, and what they're doing, it's not holding up to our standards. I'm running for 1776 project curriculum in the schools. We need patriotic. We need valuable education. We need to teach our students our rights, and we need to teach them in our economics classes, which is now mandated in the state of Florida. We need to teach them how to balance a checkbook, how to manage personal finances, and we need to bring all of our community members into these schools because this is the people's school. We need to bring them in and then naturally teach our students, bring a banker into the schools to teach these kids about real-world experiences, bring political parties, outreach committees into civics classes to talk about the political process. And I have experience, particularly running for in the political aspect in Charlotte High School. I started the Republican Club in Charlotte High School, and I have experience going through the hurdles of starting that club. In fact, when it comes to constitutional rights, back then in the public schools, learning your constitutional rights was a basic thing that you would learn in the public school settings. Not anymore. They don't go into depth about what rights these students have as American citizens, and administrators actually take advantage of students' ignorance of their rights. And then that happened when I was starting that club, and I actually had the right to start a Republican club in the school thanks to the Equal Access Law. Dave Kalin over there came and helped start that up. So we need successful schools. We need community engagement in our schools. We need an accountable school board. A school board is not accountable. You speak up for 3 minutes, they do nothing. We need rework workshop meetings, and we need to be closer with the people and hold these school board members accountable and actually work with the people, and because they are the voice. Vote for me, Leonardo Trent, on August 20th. I would appreciate if you vote for me. Thank you.
Thank you. 2 minutes.
Thank you, Leonardo. And we have a newly announced candidate running for school board. Karina Schmidt, come on up here and introduce yourself, please.
Good evening. Thank you very much. My name is Karina Schmidt, and I can absolutely second everything that Leonardo just said and add some things to that. The reason I'm running for school board in Charlotte County in District 3 is because I have seen from the inside what kind of garbage they're teaching the kids. I used to work as a substitute teacher in Miami-Dade County before I came here. And I saw from the inside, both from all the way from K to 12th grade, what is actually taught in our school books. Our school books are largely factually incorrect. And I say that with highlights. I grew up in Denmark. I have an academic background from the University of Southern Denmark in Spanish, American Studies, Spanish, and a minor in English. I have taught Danish and English in Denmark. And I have worked, as I said, as a substitute in Miami-Dade County. I have for 4 years now homeschooled my kids. And it may sound bizarre to you why I would care to run for a position like this, because I am homeschooling my kids still. I would love to have my kids in public school. I think they need to get out there, and they're missing the social interaction with other kids. I absolutely agree with that. I cannot dispute that. However, quality education is key. And education, unfortunately, now must start at home. We used to have a lot more parental involvement in our school system, and they have shut that down, gradually taking the parents out of the equation. They don't want the parents anywhere near the classroom so the parents can get an insight into what is really going on. All the way down to one of the counties here in Florida where a 9th grader got raped in the bathroom, and they decided to sweep it under the rug. I've been substituting at one of the schools in, I'm just going to say it, it's Southridge in Miami. It is one of the worst high schools you can come near, and it's run by morons. When parents file a complaint, and this is my concern coming into Charlotte County, I see the same lax attitude with those that sit on the board. When they file a complaint, nothing gets done. When parents show up to the school board meetings, and I spoke at the most recent one about homeschooling versus public schools and demanding quality education, fact-based education, working with primary text. How can you teach the Constitution if you're not using the Constitution? If you don't have a look at the primary source, how are you going to talk about the Gettysburg Address if you never ever read it? I mean, seriously, it's coming down to that. When you pose that question to the teachers, they look at you like you have 3 heads, and they don't want to hear it because they really don't want the kids to know what the Constitution says, because the kids will realize that they have unalienable rights. They don't want them to know that. That form of mental oppression of the young generation is despicable. That is why, when I realized how terrible the schools were, I decided I need to homeschool. I need to take matters into my own hands and continue still to work for the next generation. I already have a 20-year-old that's done with school. I have a daughter that's going into high school. They're with Freedom Project Academy. It's an online school. Excellent, excellent classical curriculum. I have one that's going into 8th grade. But education starts all the way down to kindergarten. And this is where our parents in the community, this is where the grandparents need to step in also, because grandparents provide an excellent source of knowledge too. They've been around for a long time, and they know what schools used to be like. All right? They know that it wasn't always a Marxist system that taught our kids. One of the things that I have done when I lived in Miami, and I'm becoming more and more active here. We've only been here since December. But I see many of the same problems as I saw in Miami. I was very involved in the Republican clubs. I was very involved in addressing matters with the school board and trying to hold people accountable. But it also starts with the parents at home. I would drag my kids to meetings. I don't have them here today, but I would drag my kids to meetings, and I see one parent here, it looks like. Are you the mother? All right. Well, I'm glad you brought your daughter. Because you know what? And I just kind of wish that you would not have her headset in. That's the only thing I would say, because you need to learn, okay? The only thing that you can understand, the only way you can understand your community is by paying attention, is by observing what is really going on. And when the older guys say, hey, you're too young to understand, no, you're not. Because that is exactly what we need to bring back to our community and back to the classroom, critical thinking. There are two schools of thought on how we teach. And anybody that has been in education long enough will also know that that path has heavily shifted to indoctrination. They don't educate our kids. They indoctrinate them. This is why I'm running for school board. We need a massive change, because without that, the next generation is going to be seriously lost, and it starts at home. When you come home, unfortunately, right now, you have to re-educate your kids because of some of the factually absolute garbage that they teach the kids. When you can have interviewers go out on the street and ask the children, so what's the capital of Florida? Orlando. Where's Ukraine? Where's what? Where's Ukraine? Oh, that's over there. It's on the other side of the water. Yeah, that's good. So I want your support, please, 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 because we have a responsibility as a society. I'm running for school board in District 3, and I need all the help I can get to get the person that's been sitting there for 12 years now and is very comfortable with his position. We need change, and change starts with us. Thank you so much. My name is Karina Schmidt. On the flyer that you could pick up over here, the website is missing. I just filed on Thursday after a lot of encouragement, and the website was just finally put up today. We can take donations online as well, and we really appreciate that. The website is KarinaSchmidtMegaVote.com. MEGA is not to be confused with MAGA. It is Make Education Great Again, because we need it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Karina. Everyone, thank you so much for coming out tonight. I'm really appreciating it. We have one more person. We have one of the board members of the RACC. Please give Wendy a listen.
Okay, I just want to thank you all for coming tonight, and I want you to know that every single one of these candidates has taken a huge risk by stepping up and trying to run against the incumbents, the establishment. They are fighting an uphill battle, and we are so proud to be helping them. They are a wonderful group of people, and we know they're all going to win. And I just want to, yes, give them a hand, because they've stepped up. Yeah. And I just want to remind you, RAC, we're a feisty group of patriots, and we have been out walking the streets for these people. We've been in your neighborhood. We recognize some of you. So please, take a card, look at the website, because Carl has done an unbelievable job of putting tons of information and resources on that. So thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone, and thank you, candidates. Have a great evening.
Still in a room here at the tables. Some of the candidates have their information. Feel free to look at that. There's a big fundraiser that's actually for all the candidates on the 15th of June. There's some flyers there. Come on out. take a look, ask your candidates question, but go ahead and look at those papers.
Now, I'm in District 4, but this says City Council of Punta Gorda.
That's a Punta Gorda District 4. How confusing, right? Should be different districts, but you can't vote for Janice.
Right. So the difference is whether it's Charlotte County versus the city of Punta Gorda.
Exactly, you got it. Exactly. Yeah.
So there's more than one District 4. I'm really confused. That's why I was trying to get it explained.
Yeah. None of the city council at all. If you live out there.
All right. Good luck.
Thank you.
So, Lux won. Is she the only